actually. So actually right now what we have is a pretty cool session, and it's the lightning talks. We've announced the lightning talks about 2 months ago, and we put up an application for calls for papers. The idea of lightning talks is that it's supposed to be talks from the community, and given like experienced developers from the community will talk for 5 minutes, and we have about like 8 people right now, 8 developers who will like talk to us about their experience, about a use case that they've encountered in their career that is very beneficial. And the first lightning talk speaker is Adham Elshahabi, sorry. Okay. So, تفضل.
My name is Adham Elshahabi. I am an Apple guy, so today I will talk to you about iOS. I apologize for speaking English, but it seems that this is the language used in the conference. It's an Arab net, but because most of the people, or all the people, understand English here. For over 2 years, I've been developing for Apple, for iOS, and for iPhone and iPad. And this is what I'm going to talk to you about today. Today, my talk is about convincing you, developers and designers, to move to iOS platform. I have a couple of successful applications in the App Store. They are for free. And today I have something to share with you. I was shocked when I checked the list, the program brochure for ArabNet, that there are people from Google, there are people from Microsoft, Nokia, Facebook, etc., but nobody from Apple. And we're speaking about the fastest growing platform. It's the fastest growing platform for both cell phones and tablets. And especially in my talk is all concerned about the Middle East and Arabic countries because my applications are all in Arabic. Okay. I wanted to say some statistics about how many users are using iOS in Arabic, but Sébastien Marteau gave a lot from Integral. He gave a lot of statistics that did the job. So we have a lot of people using iOS in the Arabic world, but for my applications, the numbers agree with what he said. I have, for one application that is Hisn al-Muslim, maybe some of you know, it has over 1 million users so far. It's a free application. And another application is Sawt al-Quran that was released in June or July last year. And also within the few months, it reached around 500,000 users. They are unique users or unique devices. The problem is, we have no developers. So we have a lot of space, we have a lot of potential in the market, and we have no people to cover this potential. And I have few questions to answer. The first question was, how many people are using iOS in the Middle East? And we saw from Sebastian that we have a lot. My second slide is, who are these people? And they are very particular in the Arabic world. So 50% of my users are from Saudi Arabia, and then comes Kuwait, United Emirates, and then also Egypt, and etc. And these people have something in common that is very particular to the Arab world. They are the people who can pay $500 or $600 to have a mobile phone. And they are the same people that are willing to pay a couple of dollars to get an app. I am an Apple guy and a developer. I'm speaking to you about benefits. So these are the people that can pay money to get your application. Android is cool. A lot of people are using Android, but Android is also available on cheap phones that not many of the users are willing to pay to get your application. But the people who paid $500 and $600 to get your application are certainly not going to cry over $1 or $2. We have a big gap in the Middle East. We have a lot of applications that are needed to be developed. Developers, when they started learning iOS developing, and including myself, we all went to religious content, to Islamic content provider. Because this is the application that nobody will do for us. People, developers from the America and Europe will not develop Islamic applications for us. So someone had to do it, and this is why developers all competed for making applications that are targeting religious or Islamic content. But there is a big gap for sports, for education, for health, and for other things. There is a lot of applications that are only available in English and need to be localized. Why is that in the next 30 seconds? Because the investment that is needed from a developer, which is having a Mac and having an iPhone or iPad, to start learning in the first place is a lot of money. This is a lot of money to pay in the Middle East, in the Arabic countries, where most of the programmers come from countries like Egypt, Jordan, and etc., and also Lebanon. They have no money to buy these devices. So I'm here trying to convince all the people. I see a lot of Macs and a lot of iPhones and a lot of iPads. So go for the iOS. That's a lot of market. A lot of clients are asking for programmers, and there's nobody. And good luck. Thank you very much.
Right now we have Costa, okay, Constantine Nicolaou, and Constantine is going to talk to us about continuous learning.
Hello, my name is Constantine Nicolaou. You can call me Costa. I work for Munaqasat, and I'm here to. I'm a software developer, and I'm here to talk about something that all developers suffer from, which is boosting productivity. As a software developer, I've identified 9 steps to stay up to date, on my busy day, on my busy schedule. And here's what I discovered. There are some challenges. First of all, we have a limited time to catch up on what's new. So we have our day job, we have our due dates, some commitments, and we have new technologies and materials to read and learn from on a daily basis. We also have the experience and scope of expertise. Usually when developers want to embrace a new technology or play with something new, they usually put off by the learning curve, the steep learning curve. And there's the professional environment. Some software developers are, they might be lawyers, they might be geeks, but they work in a different environment and they want to learn something about their hobby or whatever they're interested in. Okay. Sorry about that. So there are overlapping slides here. But anyway, guess what? There are ways around it. I'll start by the attitude. And, first of all, no need to know it all. Let's face it, it's very difficult to be a walking Wikipedia. You don't have to know it all. And we have to try and admit that. So no need to know it all. It's difficult to be someone else. It's stressful to try and be someone else. Admit that you don't know everything about your domain. Second point is, it's okay not to know, but not okay not wanting to know. So always have the student mindset and always be willing to learn. The third is select topics that interest you. So keep your focus, keep concentrating on a specific topic that you're very interested in. Okay. Fourth, have a plan. And the fourth point is set up a backup system where data is aggregated for processing. So, for example, in my browser, I have extensions to Instapaper, which is an awesome app. So every time I'm reading something and I don't have time or I want to get back to it, I tag it, and it's instantly available on my iPad and iOS and iPhone. I use Google Reader. You can use social magazines like Flipboard and Zite. They're awesome. 5, talk and work with friends and colleagues continuously, learning by practice or seeing what people are doing. So attend conferences like ArabNet, find or create local user groups, prepare talks, bar camps, tweet ups, always talk about it. 6 is subscribe and organize news sources you like to read, listen to and watch. So it's very important to identify the sources because of the overflow of information. It's very important to keep your focus of where you read your information and how you get it. So there are plenty of free resources for software developers to use, like Peepcode. There are screencasts on Peepcode, Confreaks, Destroy All Software, Railscast. For example, GitHub is awesome for browsing open source code. Podcast, the Changelog 5x5 of Dan Benjamin. Read lots of technical books, RSS feeds, Hacker News for to stay up to date with what on a daily basis what's happening. Reddit, Stack Overflow, slide deck, and act on it. Use your free time. I listen to podcasts while I'm driving. I watch screencasts while during lunch breaks, and I have the latest like the newest material, videos, podcasts, and Instapaper syncing automatically to my iPhone. So it's with me every time I sync my phone. 8, set some time to actually try out what you're learning. It's very important to actually try out what you're reading and learning about. So weekend, late nights, holidays, etc. And finally, ship it. You need to tell the world what you've been up to and tell them how you got there. That's the most important bit. Through presentations, blogging, screencasts, and chat. And that's it for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Costa. Okay, so right now we have Mario Awad. He's right there. And Mario is going to talk to us about contributing to open source contributing open source arabization features.
Hi everyone, my name is Mario Awad, and I'm founder and developer at SoftCube. We basically build websites and web solutions using open source. And one of my worst nightmares is when a client comes in and they need a solution with Arabic features. It's a total nightmare, and we try to avoid it by telling the client we'll give them a discount, we'll translate your content for free, but it doesn't work most of the time, and we have to work in Arabic. And Arabic features are lacking, especially in open source and in other systems too. So this is why I'm here. I'm here to talk about open source and especially contributing Arabization features. And this is separated in 3 parts. First, I'm going to tell you what's missing, what can you contribute, and second, how you can contribute, what are the different ways, and third and most important, I'm going to tell you why you should contribute. So first, this is an overview. This is in no way an extensive list. We have plenty of features to contribute. For example, we have WordPress and Drupal, which are very popular content management systems. They are lacking multilingual support features. For example, WordPress doesn't come built in, and you have to download additional plugins to use it, whereas Drupal is a bit better. Multilingual support is built in, but it's very hard to configure, so there's a lot of work to do there. Also, numbering and accounting, even the simplest of tasks, like listing the numbers from 1 to 100 in Arabic, is tedious to do in Arabic. Let's say on top of PHP, you have to download an additional library and translate your numbers from English to Arabic to use them. Same thing for date and currency formatting. If you're building an accounting system, it's hard to have those features there. Unicode support is lacking in PHP. You have to use multi-byte. And even if the features are there, most of the time you need to do some layout optimizations yourself. For example, the layout will be done from left to right, whereas in Arabic it has to be done right to left. And there are plenty of other features we can contribute to. How can you contribute? So ranging from the simplest, if you come across a solution for a problem you're working on, just tweet it, share it on Facebook, share it on LinkedIn, just tell the world about it. Even better, if you add it to the solution to make it work on your dev machine or anything, you can comment and you can contribute. And you make the solution better and better every time you comment. You can also create your own blog entry if you have a big problem and you're working on it, and people will contribute to it and it will become better. Also, you can contribute to popular systems like WordPress and Drupal, as you have mentioned. Of course, this is a bit harder because there are review processes and it's harder to get code in there, but it's worth it. And finally, you can create your standalone open source plugins and modules. Let's say, for example, you're working on an accounting system and you find a way to translate a number from its numerical presentation to its textual presentation in Arabic. I'm sure this is lacking. You can open source it and have it online. So basically anything, just share it. Finally, the most important part, why should you contribute? First, you will benefit. As a developer, you will become a much better developer. When you contribute code online, you'll get feedback on it, you'll get ways on how to improve your code, you will write better comments because everybody will be seeing them, and you will also write better classes, better functions, and you'll get feedback, and you will benefit greatly. Second, your projects will, definitely, because you're getting feedback, they're becoming of higher quality, and your client is happier. Also, your company is. As a result, your network, your country, the whole region will become better, everybody will be benefiting, and the whole world will. So, my message for you today is, be open, share, and always contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Okay, so right now we have Mohammad Aldoub. Mohammad is going to talk to us about Arabizing privacy tools, and there you go.
Thank you very much. Greetings everyone, my name is Mohammad Aldoub, engineer from Kuwait. I'm here to blame you all and make us feel really bad about ourselves. Let's talk about privacy. Can you please give me the remote? Yeah, how does this work? Okay, so privacy is a fundamental human right that's not up for discussion. In fact, privacy should be protected by our governments, our constitutions, our laws, and ironically, it's the one that's most abused by them. So, starting with the internet does not forget. The internet slowly builds up a complete profile for you, including all of your mistakes. And this internet is easily searchable if you know how to use Google. Not just the internet, but all forms of communication, URLs, SMS messages, emails, are actually spied upon and recorded by the governments, the ISPs, the mobile carriers, and of course hackers. So, should you be scared? Yes, you should be scared. Don't say, I don't have anything to hide. Don't say, who cares about spying on me? Why just me? And don't think that your right to freedom of speech gives you the right to forget about privacy. So actually what happens is that the governments, the ISPs, the mobile carriers, can you hear me very well? Okay. They have many reasons to record your data, including legal and security and financial audits. So they do actually record your data. They don't even need to be professionals about it. They just buy tools. It's as easy as install and spy. So even if you were innocent, they might still spy on you and record your data to find information about somebody else, a former colleague, a neighbor, a friend. It doesn't matter for them how innocent you are. And that's why privacy problems are like zombies. They die and they come back later to bite you when you least expect it. No zombies here, that's good. Spying is done in two main ways, targeted spying and mass spying. Targeted spying is done against known individuals such as politicians, for example. Our main concern is mass spying, which is done agnostically and indiscriminately against all users. So, for everybody on the network, they record all of your data, your browsing history. It doesn't matter for them who you are. So in the Arab world, as a society, we take privacy very seriously. However, we have been failing to reflect this care into our online presence. There is a severe lack of exposure and knowledge of good privacy tools, which is a product of the language barrier for most users. Especially in the past few years, massive political reforms, the Arab Spring protests, they have been putting new risks and possibilities for privacy in the Arab world. For example, oppressive governments will now spend a lot more time and money on buying and using spying systems, and the new governments might change laws. Free speech might be affected. What is legal today might be illegal tomorrow. So if there's something we know for certain, that our governments are very slow. So we need to take them by surprise. We need, as users, to adapt to privacy tools and generally not be as slow as them. So let's start educating users about privacy tools. And for us to do that, we have to Arabize and localize the available privacy tools and networks. That's what we've been doing, and that's what you should do as well. So I'll go through some examples of some privacy tools that have been working in Arabizing. I have been working mainly with the two great groups, the Guardian Project and the Tour Project. These groups develop privacy applications and technologies, and I have been helping them in Arabizing these technologies for the users in the Arab world. I'll take the first example. The first example is Giberbot. Giberbot is a secure chat client on the Android platform. It gives you encryption so that nobody can see what you're saying. It gives you authentication, you can know who you're talking to, and it gives you something we call OTR messaging, off-the-record messaging. Basically, any platform chat you use, such as Google or Facebook, will not be able to know what you're talking, and that's not the case for SSL. And it will give you the legal protection that nobody can link any conversation to you even if it was leaked. And of course, nobody can decrypt your previous conversations even if you were forced to give out your privacy, your private keys. And this is awesome. The second example, here are some screenshots of the arabized Giverbot interface. And let's go through the next example, the Tor network. The Tor network is a free network of virtual tunnels. Basically, a user connects through Tor to go to his server, his destination. Nobody can know who you are or who you're connecting to. So there's something called Vidalia. Vidalia is a graphical interface for the Tor network so that average users can use the Tor network correctly and not have to mingle with the difficult configurations. I have been working in arabizing the Vidalia interface and the Tor browser bundle with the Tor project guys. Here are some examples of the arabized interface for Vidalia. And our last example is Orbot. Orbot is the official Tor port into the Android platform. Basically, you click on one big green button and then you can have Tor connection on your Android such that all of your networking of your Android device will go through the Tor network. And finally, what needs to be done is actually we need to promote the principles of privacy. Okay, just 1 minute. Privacy, we need, as developers, you need to participate in arabizing the privacy tools and need to promote the privacy principles to your friends. And we should donate our money, since the coffee is free for today, to the Tor project, the Guardian project, and the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Please donate some of your money to them and support them for providing this great privacy technologies. Finally, if you need any question, you can catch me outside if you can. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mohammad. Okay, next on the list is Mohammad Jouni.
Hello everyone, my name is Mohammad Jouni and today I would like to talk to you about continuous integration. So, as software developers, we have immense powers. Basically, we can add priceless value to our users and we can fix huge problems simply by determining how a bunch of symbols and some words are synced together. And sometimes it feels as if we actually are superheroes with superpowers. But as we add more and more features, our system becomes so complex that we start dreading adding features to it and starts being a huge problem. You actually start hating the system. And I think a lot of us here have at some point in time tried to add a feature or fix a bug, and we find ourselves breaking some area or some feature that we didn't account for just because the system is so complex. And I guess this applies whether you have an intricate financial system, whether you have a mobile application, or even a modest web app. So how do we actually manage this complexity? And I found myself asking this question a lot when I was working on a very complex system that I started dreading to do anything on it. It was a nightmare to maintain. And when I used to commit code, I would usually just update my CV on the side just in case any problem happens. So when I did some research, it turned out that one actual answer is continuous integration. So actual superheroes like Bruce Wayne, Batman, can afford a butler to help them with their day-to-day lives, to make sure everything's working. To me, a continuous integration server is the closest thing I will ever get to having a butler. But enough with my rambling about actual continuous integration. What is it? So at its bare minimum, it boils down to having a server that runs in the background. It either wakes up when you have a problem, or it wakes up when somebody commits some code. It wakes up and it runs your code and it builds it, and it tells you if there's any problem. And let me give you a concrete example of how we're currently implementing this at our company. So if you look here, every day developers commit their code to a central repository. Our continuous integration server wakes up every day at 12 a.m. It downloads the code. It runs some static code analysis. It generates some quality metrics to just understand how the code and how it's working. And then it runs some code style to make sure that the code style is working fine. That's followed by running the unit testing that developers have written, and then building and deploying this huge application and placing it on a web server, for example. Once it does that, it starts running our automated integration and performance tests. Once all of that is done, it generates an email with everything that it has done, and it tells us if any problem has happened or everything is good. And one interesting story that happened to us while we were piloting the system is that while we were testing it, it complained that there was a problem in our system. And when we dove into it, we found out that one of the developers actually merged the code in a bad way and dropped a feature. And that would have been slipped by because the QA department had signed off on it, and it was a simple mistake, but this actually took care of that. And so it sort of feels at the end as if you have a guardian angel that's sitting there every day, running every single night, making sure that your code is still working, everything's still fine, letting you know with an email that everything's working or if there's a problem. And it's sort of like a diligent employee that you've added. So these are some of the continuous integration servers out there. To be honest, Jenkins is the one I've used the most and I really like it. The others I haven't tried a lot, but you can try it if you want. And so basically that's it. This is an interesting book on continuous integration if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammad. And up next is Mohammad Tarakiyee. He's from Jordan, and he's going to talk to us about something that is, I'm personally a big fan of, which is how you can push your clients into the HTML5 and CSS3 pool.
Hello, my name is Mohammad Tarakiyee. I'm a web developer at Prodigy and a member of the Jordan Open Source Association. I'm going to talk to you today about something that's important, which is HTML5 CSS3 early adoption. Now, the reason I chose that metaphor of pushing your clients into the pool is because HTML5 and CS3 is so cool, but the problem is people are always scared of jumping into the pool. It's like you keep telling them it's warm, it's cool, it's everything that you ever wanted, but nobody wants to jump into it because they think like coders. They want something that's already been tested, that has no problems, and something they've been used to. Now, I'm not talking to coders. I'm talking to actual developers who want to develop new experiences. The problem with the web as it stands now is I think we've reached a point where it's really hard to come up with new experiences with what we have with normal HTML, with JavaScript, with CSS2. If we ever want to start developing new experiences, we really need to start adopting all of these new technologies. And another thing I try to use to push people into adopting HTML5 and CSS3, because they're part of something that's called the Open Web Standards. And the Open Web Standards are there to support something that's called the Open Web. And for many people, they see that the future is the Open Web. So what is the Open Web? I can't really tell you what the Open Web is. It's something that's huge and just so magnificent that it's really hard to explain. But it's basically, it's lots of people who believe in it. It's lots of companies that work that way. It's experiences that you find online that basically come from when the web started. And it's all about openness and lots of key philosophies. These are some of these philosophies that I find are very important. Like, number one important philosophy is transparency. Transparency basically means that all the standards you see online have been developed out in the open, out in the public. Everybody have had their say in it, like people who've been interested in it. And anybody can implement any of these standards if they want to. And that is really important, and we really need to start taking an active part in that. Like, say for example, you find out that text shadows don't work on a certain browser in Arabic. You really need to tell that to the browsers, to the makers of the browsers, this is not up to standard. And then they will have to update their browsers and fix these bugs. The second important philosophy is hackability. You want people to start experiencing your web applications in their own ways. Like, if you don't like the newsfeed on Facebook, you can automatically hide it. If you want to order your feed differently, you can hack into the DOM, the HTML5 DOM, and just change them. And that's why it's important for us to stick to these open standards. Because, okay, you can offer new experiences in Flash or something, but it might not be as hackable or as open as HTML5. The third important philosophy is openness. You want everybody to be equal in the field, and this is very important so that people in this region, startups everywhere, can always jump into the game and have a level playing field and be able to provide new experiences to users without having to be a big company with. And the last point here is usability. Always think of the end user. And this is important in the open web. You want your users to experience your application in the best way possible, and you always have to keep that in mind when developing, if you want to subscribe to the open web. So now going back to HTML5, it is coming, so you have to start bracing yourself and preparing yourself for it. If some things that help me now when developing HTML5 applications is Modernizer. Modernizer is basically a JavaScript library that tells you whether the user is using a browser that supports certain HTML5 features. And then you can use that to provide different experiences to different people with different browsers. And that's really helpful. And other than that, you can always provide something called polyfills, which are certain JavaScript libraries that replace functionality of certain HTML5 features in older browsers. And for users who are forced to use older browsers, you can always use something called Google Frame. Google Frame basically runs a Chrome frame basically runs Chrome inside outdated Internet Explorer. So this is just the last message. I hope you all become a part of the open web. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mohammad. Okay. And up next is Mireille Raad. Where is Mireille?
اوكي انا زابر حستفيد هلا من الوقت. اول شيء I hope you guys enjoying the conference. It's really nice to get to see you كلكم هيك بفرمطة هادين. It's one of those chances where we get to feel شوي normal. لما بنحكي شيء هيك كثير الناس بيحسوا صيني and we feel like wow everybody's understanding. So it's really nice to be here. And I'm really lucky to get to speak to you about something that's really interesting me. And hope we will share some kind of interest, because it's really important that somehow you find partners and people to work with على أفكار على أشياء بعدنا عم نفكر فيها، لأنه somehow في أشياء standards، يعني في الشغل اللي هو بيطلع لنا مصاري، اللي هو فينا نقرأ عنه tutorials، اللي هو فينا نلاقي كل شيء online. But what's interesting in meeting here is that I can find people with the same interest, and we can research stuff that we're actually now planning to build. So that's why I'm here, and I hope I find some common interest. Okay, as you can see, it's all about grid computing. أول شيء اللي حأحكيكم عنه منه شيء كتير خيالي وشيء كتير like you would think grid computing is. أول شيء تعرف شوي grid computing. It's the dynamic sharing, exchange, discovery, selection, aggregation of geographically internet-wide distributed heterogeneous resources. So قدر لازم يكون 50% فهم هالجملة. أنه basically with grid computing what you do is that somehow you have all those computers around. They have different operating systems, different hardware, and they are widespread across the internet. And what you do with grid computing is that you use those computers to carry calculations. And you can have, for example, supercomputers, computer clusters, storage systems like hard disks and storage systems. You can have data sources. You not only you're sharing your data sources, and you can share your visualization devices. That means that your GPUs, because now GPUs are really being used to crack stuff and really interesting stuff. We can use scientific instruments. This is my favorite part, using a scientific instrument in a part of the grid. This is a scientific instrument. This is the LHC. And the way we manage to calculate stuff out of the LHC is by using a grid. That grid, you see that, is a grid that's a volunteer grid. It's the grid here, I'm going to show you a little bit. The grid is really heavy in Europe, in the US. Somehow we have a little bit in China and in India. But what's really interesting is that we have really one dot here, this green dot. And I guess you all assumed where that is. So basically when the LHC experiments were happening, the physicists there were, to analyze the huge amount of data that was happening, were using a grid system. So it's not something that's happening in virtual. It's something that's actually being built. So, of course, there are a lot of softwares and middlewares and a lot of tons of stuff that would help you build a grid. First I'm gonna show some examples, like the word community grid. This is my favorite grid. I'm actually participating in it. What you do is that they have those, for example, biological problem, or like those physics problem where they need to compute probabilities. So what you do is that you donate your idle computer time to do those computations, and you can be part in a team. You can have some kind of ranking, and it's somehow like you're playing a game, but just you're leaving your computer. Okay, those are some examples of some grids. I'm gonna name some middlewares like Unicore, Globus, Gridbus, Legion, European Middleware Initiative. And then the programming languages used are HP C++, which is high performance C++, and MPI. I ran to HP C++. I tried to do the hello world. After like 15 minutes, I was like, oh, this is really hard. Okay, now, okay, this is grid computing. I'm not gonna ask you to like, let's do grid computing. This is like really huge scale stuff. But what I'm actually interested in is that we start building some really small solutions inside the companies we work for and the clients we work for or the communities we work for. Once I was I was doing a project for a company, and they had like 70 users. And we had all the time, we had some kind of voice over IP system and video recordings and a lot of stuff, and we needed storage all the time. So what I thought is that we used to buy a lot of hard disks and a lot of backups and a lot of stuff, but we used to run out of this all the time. So this is when I started researching grid storage. Grid storage is that basically, there's a system called the Tahoe, LAFS. It's a list authorization file system. What you do is that you have, for example, 70 computers. You have one computer to act as an introducer node. It introduces the other computers to the grid. And once the computers are on the grid, you have this automatic encrypted system where you need only 3 computers out of 10 to be on the grid to be able to like use your files. So what I basically did is that build this internal grid system. It was not for computing, it was only for storage. And so basically whenever you have 3 employees out of 10, you would be able to use data and files. And now each laptop is like 100 gigabits. So if you count 700 gigs over 70 employees, this is a really small laptop, then you somehow have some kind of storage, and it's redundant, it's backed up, and all this kind of stuff. So this was the first experience, my first experience with grid computing and how I got interested in it. What happened then is that some kind of NGO asked me to help them build an internal network. So what I did, of course, they gave me 7 or 10 computers in the same type. So of course, I installed the computers, and eventually I turned them into a grid, and like it was some small lab. I played with it. If anyone is interested, I can show it to you. Oh shit, I missed the most important part.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Raad. I'd like to thank all of the Light and Talk speakers. Actually, we had another 2 Light and Talk speakers, but unfortunately they couldn't join us, so that's sad, but I think, that was enough of Light and Talk, and I think they were all great. So right now, actually, it's the time for lunch, and we have around 10 minutes of nothing before the lunch, so actually you guys can take this to, and use it as to connect with each other and, talk to each other. But this is, right now, we're done. After the lunch break, we have the UX hour, and it's going to be very interesting, so make sure to come back. Thank you.